Good afternoon, everyone. Campbell McCreary here, Amvest Capital in New York City. Welcome to the Amvest Capital Inc. live webinar with Global Energy Metals Corp. Global Energy trades on the venture as GEMC and as GBLEF on the OTCQB. Hope you enjoy today's program. It will be available in replay after the close, and also, you'll have it on amvestcapital.com/webinars. Amvest, of course, is a New York-based specialist investment management and corporate finance firm focused solely on the natural resource sector. And please note, this call is most definitely for informational purposes only. Have with us today Mitchell Smith, President and CEO, and Timothy Strong, Project Development Manager over at Global. So without any further ado, let's get started. If you guys want to share your screen and your webcams, and we'll dive in, and we'll then ask for Q&A from you. Please send in your questions, and we'll get to them. Thank you. Welcome. You're muted. There we go. Nope. Again.
Perfect.
Okay.
Good deal. Well, thanks very much for attending this webinar, everyone, and of course, thank you very much to Campbell and the Amvest team for organizing this event. Tim and I are very excited to be presenting here today, and there's a number of key initiatives that we have underway and that are planned that we think that you will be equally as exciting to you as shareholders or potential investors in Global Energy Metals. So normally what I do is I spend some time to introduce attendees on the macro reasons on why now is the time to be investing in what we like to call the mega trend opportunity that battery metals presents. However, in the interest of time, and I recognize that there's a lot of people who've been on this call before with us, and I'm going to assume that everyone here today is familiar with battery metals like cobalt and nickel and lithium and copper, etc., and why these raw materials are really critical to the future of electrification, clean e-mobility, batteries, electric vehicles, energy storage, green technologies, and all the social impact and sustainability and environmental initiatives that the world is really adopting right now and really pushing for. So instead, what I'd like to focus our time today on is really the why Global Energy, and more specifically, how you as investors can benefit from being a shareholder of Global Energy Metals today, and what the company is doing to provide its stakeholders with the exposure that many investors today are seeking as the world really transitions to this clean energy storage. And I think there's there's a lot of things that we've been doing over the past several months, and it's been a very busy last 4 or 5 months for us. Since our last Amvest webinar that we did, we've issued a dozen or so press releases. We've been covered by a number of media outlets and have done several interviews. So if you aren't already, I would really encourage you to subscribe to our e-newsletter so that you get these timely updates of all of our corporate updates. Tim, if you can go to the next slide, if you don't mind. So I'd like to begin this afternoon by providing you with an update on some of the key milestones that we've achieved in the past few months. I've highlighted them here. Maybe next slide. Sorry, Tim. Just to the one with, yeah, perfect. So we've really highlighted them here and on this slide, and it shows that, you know, there's been a number of these milestones met. We've made strategic acquisitions. We've entered into new working partnerships. We've joined battery-focused alliances, and, you know, we're working on ways to really enhance market visibility. And then, you know, drills are about to start turning here. Drones are flying right now. Assays are being analyzed. So this is really all stuff that I know that you really want to hear about. So when that's so after I give a bit of a Cole's notes on the corporate milestones that I briefly mentioned here, I'll pass the mic over to Tim, who of course is our project development manager, and he's going to provide you with an update on, you know, this bicontinental exploration programs, you know, and everything else that we're doing as we enter into the fall. So before I get started, and I know that Campbell mentioned this as well, I wanted to remind everyone that as this is an interactive webinar, please do feel free to ask questions in the chat room, and, you know, we'll try to address these at the end of the webinar. So acquisitions really represent an ongoing effort by the company to assemble projects that we feel are key for the new energy economy. And, you know, we've done these in top tier mining jurisdictions with a lot of exploration and development upside. You know, a lot of effort goes into making the right choice when we look at these projects. In the spring, we closed the acquisition of a portfolio of battery metal projects from Rouge geological, and it includes Monument Peak, which is a copper, silver, gold project in Idaho, Chance Lake, which is a nickel, copper, cobalt property in Quebec, and as well as the Amarillo nickel, copper PGE property also in Quebec. And, you know, these three assets really expand Global Energy's battery portfolio in North America, and it complements the existing 85% ownership we have in the Lovelock mine and Treasure Box projects in Nevada, as well as the Warner Lake Cobalt copper project in Ontario. You know, we've seen a lot of work that's been done from DeRouge, who we inherited a lot of high quality exploration data. And, you know, more specifically, these results really indicate that the copper, silver, and gold mineralization offers a very compelling target with just over 3 kilometers of map strike length. And the company is now underway on a very aggressive exploration program there at Monument Peak, and Tim's going to provide some details on that shortly. But, you know, when we look at the deliverables from this, it's really by closing 3 highly prospective exploration projects in Canada and the US. You know, we wanted to look at other jurisdictions as well, and that's what we did in July when we made a strategic acquisition of the Rana nickel copper cobalt project, which is in Norway. As part of that transaction, we also acquired a 1% royalty on the property, and, you know, we think that you know, part of our strategy when we look at these projects is to source and develop materials that can be actually made into battery production at some time, and do so under strong ethical and governance frameworks. And you know, that being key, we see the Scandinavian Peninsula as being you know, not only a very prolific nickel district, but also really leading the charge in renewable energy. And you know, with a limited number of high quality nickel sulfide projects available worldwide, Rana really represents one of the few drill-ready, low capex class 1 nickel projects that are available. And so we're working with the vendor now to attract strategic partners to help fund the project development. And in doing so, we'll leverage our interest and create shareholder value through some of that exploration success. And of course, you know, we continue to evaluate these M&A opportunities, and it's certainly a core component of our overall corporate strategy. And we'll update the market should discussions that are being held today evolve further. So partnerships is something else that is very much core to our corporate strategy. And I'm really excited to be able to report on a few strategic partnerships that we think are providing all the parties involved the ability to explore opportunities across multiple verticals, and in doing so really enhance shareholder value and market attractiveness for global energy. The first partnership that I'll go into some detail on is really a further endorsement of the potential of our Millennium Cobalt, Copper, Gold project in Queensland, Australia, and that of course follows the sale of a recent royalty that we did with TSXV listed Electric Royalties a few months ago. So this new partnership is with a group called Metal Bank Limited. It's an ASX listed company, and they're working to fund through an exclusive option with us to earn in and joint venture through a phased work campaign at Millennium. And we think this is really presents as an excellent opportunity for successful exploration and development of a very highly prospective battery metal project that we really aren't getting full market value for in our portfolio at the moment. This is a team that's led by in Scotland, Guy Robertson and Sue-Ann Higgins, as well as Rhys Davies. And it's a team that has a record of global success. They've made several discoveries. They've proceeded to mine development and project sale, generating billions of dollars in the past. Their experience, their transactional know-how, the jurisdictional understanding of being in Queensland and in Australia, really gives us an opportunity for global energy and its shareholders. So, and in doing so, we also get to retain a 20% project level exposure and ownership of Millennium, and it diversifies our equity holdings through a very sizable equity interest in Metal Bank as well. So, we're very happy about that. They're already on the ground. Initial results that we have announced are significant, very significant. They're encouraging. They suggest that the continuity really moves to the north of the project. And as Ines said, if we can really confirm that this system extends to the north, it's going to really complete the change and the scope and the scale of this project. And again, I don't want to take away too much of Tim's thunder, as he's going to give details on this. So so stay tuned to that as well. And then we're also working on other partnerships that I'm really excited about. It's not every day you get to partner with people who've held executive leadership roles with top-notch organizations and who are now coming together to answer the demand for skyrocketing rocket battery technology. And that's exactly what we're doing right now. And I can't go into too much detail as it hasn't been fully disclosed at this point, but we see that this mutually beneficial opportunity is a really important step in transforming a much needed security of supply of minerals that the Canadian and the US see as being very important in supporting North America's quest for mineral independence. So I encourage you to follow the story closely as we come to fruition on these initiatives. Over the past several months, as I mentioned, we've really experienced this considerable growth in our business, and we've reached several milestones. And we want to look forward to continue this momentum forward and showcase these and future achievements. So as we've done that, we've looked to do a number of initiatives. One is a OTCQB listing, being attentive to US investor demand that obviously is seeking a US or North American exposure to the battery metals supply chain, we want to be able to give that to those shareholders. And so we've submitted an application to trade on the OTC QB, and we think this is a timely milestone. We think it's going to give the increased visibility that the OTC provides, and we expect to be able to finalize this in the very, very near future. The other thing we've done is we've aligned with other organizations, and as momentum accelerates and policymakers, industry participants really support strategic autonomy and critical mineral sovereignty, we thought it important to position global energy in the forefront of the European battery metals community as well, and especially given our in light of that recent strategic acquisition of Rana and the past producing Bruvan mine. So we've applied for and we're accepted for membership into the European Raw Materials Alliance as well. One thing that we've done, and it's not directly related to the company, but I was asked to join the Battery Metals Association of Canada. And I think having a voice in Canada's role in the battery metal supply chain and being able to speak to government and policymakers is extremely important. So I look forward to that, and as much as I can tie global energy into those efforts, I certainly will. So that kind of concludes what I wanted to provide on the update to corporate milestones and achievements and kind of where we're going. So let me pass the floor over to Tim. He's going to provide you with all the exciting things, I guess we can say, of what's happening at our projects and what to expect in the coming weeks, and really why now is the time to be a shareholder before some of the results of these programs are released. So Tim, over to you.
Thanks, Mitch. Good afternoon, everyone. As you can see on this map here, we have a pretty tier 1 focus on our projects. We're focusing on North America, Europe, and Australasia. We think particularly that projects in North America are going to become even more strategic in the future. There's a big drive from the Department of Energy to supply critical metals within the United States and Canada, keeping everything domestic, and we think we're at the forefront of acquiring these projects and moving them forward. We've been pretty busy over the last few months, as Mitch said. We've got some teams out in the ground in Australia and also in Idaho right now, so I'm just going to give you all a quick update on what we've been doing to date. So we start off with the Monument Peak project in Idaho. We have a team out there on the ground right now looking for copper, silver, and gold. We planned a soil sampling and geological program for up to 517 soil samples. The update on that so far is that we've completed 50% of that program. Everything's gone to plan. The drone magnetic survey was tested yesterday and is all up and running. So we hope to get some results from that in the next couple of weeks. The soil sampling program should also be finished in the next sort of 10 days. And then depending on the laboratory lead times, we would expect some results in sort of a month or so. The Monument project is made up of 4 distinctive areas of mineralization, believed to be VMS mineralization, which some of you may know typically tend to occur in pods. What we're trying to do with this soil sampling program and the drone magnetics is to try and infill the areas that haven't got much exposure. There's a lot of vegetation, so we're hoping that this will sort of hone us in to any connections between these deposits, or some new ones that would be considered blind. So we're pretty excited to get the results from that probably in about a month's time. At the Millennium project, as Mitch mentioned, our partnership with Metal Bank, they are on the ground, they've had access, they've done some mapping, and they're particularly interested in the northern part of the deposit. Highlighted here on this map, the northern area, and they are going to start drilling in the next 3 days. They have a rig ready in Mount Isa. It's just going through its final maintenance schedule, and it will be out onto the license. They're going to do some resource definition in the area where we already have a resource, and then to the north, you know, they're looking for an extension, and this is the first phase of their earning. Feedback that I've had from their chief geologist and their geologist on the grounds is that they're seeing some extremely positive signs, and Mitch mentioned earlier also that, you know, they think there's a considerable amount of potential in the northern part, which would be transformational for the project. And again, these guys have got on the ground within the last month and are very keen to work very fast. So we would expect some results probably by mid to end September, depending on how quick they get the drilling done. Our Lovelock and Treasure Box projects in Nevada, very strategic. We have a plan in place to do the maiden drilling campaign at both these projects, about 10,000 feet. We've traditionally built up the exploration from, you know, underground mapping, geophysics surveys, and we're now ready to drill this. Unfortunately, we've been held back a little bit, as many of our peers have, with a lack of drill contractors available in Nevada and the Western United States in general. We are in a position now where we are in final discussions with the contractor, and it's a case of getting the contract signed and dated. So we hope to give an update on that as soon as possible, in terms of dates and how quickly we can move this forward, because, you know, I certainly believe that the potential here at the Lovelock and Treasure Box projects is fantastic for the battery metals sector in Nevada and the United States as a whole. As I mentioned, this is the original plan, and it still is the plan for Lovelock and Treasure Box, 2,100 meters, targeting the UAV mag that we have completed and the underground mapping. We believe that, you know, the old high-grade mine workings that were originally mined in the early 1900s, you know, we think that the system continues, and we're going to be targeting that with this drilling. So we're anxious and excited to get onto that as soon as possible. The Rana nickel project in Norway, as Mitchell already covered, we're working with our strategic partners there to bring in other strategic partners to help us get some solid exploration underway here, hopefully again before the winter comes in Norway. The Chance Lake and Emerald projects, very new to us. If any of you know this area of Quebec, it's extremely remote, and we are working along with our partners on that, and our partners at Warner Lake in Ontario, to find further strategic partners or, you know, opportunities to joint venture with people to take these projects forward. We currently believe that, you know, these three projects are lower down the rankings in terms of strategy for the company, but the projects have great merit, and, you know, we want to push them forward as much as possible through partners and strategic alliances. Okay, Mitch, would you like to?
Sure. So yeah, I think you know, in providing this summary, and this is really what we were hoping to achieve here, is to, you know, really give listeners background on what we've been doing over the past several months, and where we're going in terms of direction, and bringing the company forward, and really creating value. You know, having multiple exploration programs underway, having some new partnerships that we are moving forward with, and really being in a sector that is, you know, extremely important, and not only important on the mining side, but really important globally as we try to move away from fossil fuels and realize that the necessity for these battery metals and the essential role that cobalt and nickel and copper amongst other metals really present to this new greener focused economy. So I think I'd love to be able to use this time to answer questions, as I'm sure there are a few, and really be able to answer anything that you may have in terms of new steps or corporate catalysts or milestones that have been achieved thus far.
Sure. Thank you. Just going to kind of quote directly. The company is a small company with a market cap of only about 5 million. With all the projects you have on the books, how will you be able to spend enough time on any one to move them forward? Do you plan to JV most of your projects? So, typical thought. You got a lot going on here.
We do, and part of the strategy with Global Energy is really to provide shareholders with that exposure, and we think that the best way of doing that is through ownership stakes at the project level. But part of that strategy entails working with partners and working and collaborating with other industry peers or with other organizations, companies, to be able to advance those projects forward and do so try to do so on their balance sheet. What we're doing with Metal Bank, for instance, in Australia is they're sole funding those exploration project programs that are underway at the Millennium Project in Queensland, and it's efforts like that really be able to maintain those project level stakes, but still see those projects advance forward. And in doing so, it gives our shareholders exposure to those metals.
Great, thank you. And please, I encourage everyone to send in your questions, and we'll ask them here, largely verbatim. So great opportunity here. Can you just talk about your annual burn rate for all your projects, and I guess sort of individually, is there what's the burn on each project? Do you have them in one place? And exploration spend plan for 21 and 2022.
Sure. So internally, there's around just over $600,000 that's being spent on our project in Lovelock and Treasure Box on planned exploration drill program. There's a small amount of funds that are directed towards project maintenance and care and upkeep of claims across the board. At Monument Peak, there's about $200,000 that's dedicated to advancing that project forward. That's the one in Idaho. And then in Queensland, that program is being sole funded by Metal Bank. So there's no budget for the company, although there's upwards of several million over the next couple of years that Metal Bank has allocated towards moving that project forward. And they're like Tim and I both said, they're very going to be very aggressive in what they do in the immediate future and in the foreseeable future as well.
All right, thank you. I'm going to pass this over to Adam. And Adam, if you could move closer to the camera there, you're cutting in and out.
All right, there we go.
Okay.
All right, guys, if you could just, so your three major projects, would you say those would be, Lovelock, Treasure Box, Monument Peak, and Millennium?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Our focus is on those North American projects. And again, having that partnership with Metal Bank allows us to see the Australian assets develop as well.
And your partner at Metal Bank, they're earning into 80%?
Correct, yes.
And then so at Monument Peak, maybe if you could just talk a little more about that, and if there's been historic mining there, and sort of what do you think the sort of the upside is, for each of those VMS pods, if you guys are able to hit them and sort of delineate them?
Tim, can you give a little bit of shed a little bit of light on those at Monument Peak?
Yeah, absolutely. So our strategic partners on the ground there, they know the license pretty well. They've done some work there, rock chip sampling and a little bit of soil sampling, and they've been pulling out rock chips, upwards of 20% copper and 14% gold. And the issue they've had there, as I mentioned, was that there's not a lot of outcrop. The areas that have been sampled, are the areas that do have outcrop, and then they want to try and put this together in terms of either joining these pods of potential VMS sulfide mineralization together, or whether they are distinct, and we're looking at developing four separate projects within that, and this program is going to test that. So there has been historic work and recent work on the licenses, which would be considered extremely early stage, but with extremely promising results.
So has there been any historic mining there?
I believe there was some very small scale mining at two of the four project areas.
And so the idea there is to do the geophysical work, and then that will let you guys hone in before you do and do the surface sampling and the geophysical work before you do any drilling.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely the plan. And in the past, magnetics is very a very good methodology for searching for these VMS pods. They light up pretty well. So that's our hope with a combination of both the surface sampling and the geophysics. We'll have drill-ready targets.
And these are, I assume, you're thinking everything is at least initially pretty close to the surface.
Absolutely, that's what we will be targeting initially. Yeah.
So you just be doing, maybe depending on what kind of rig you can get, just relatively shallow holes, trying to
absolutely. That's absolutely the key thing we're looking to do here. Target the shallow stuff first. Get some numbers on the deck, and then as things progress, we can look for deeper extensions or even deeper buried lenses which may be present.
And what's the partner relationship there?
We have a 50% stake in the project. The other group that owns it is the Rouge Geological Consulting, and they're doing the work on that project today.
Okay, they're doing the work. You're paying pro rata, and they're getting a management fee or something.
No management fee, but they're getting that was part of the agreement with them.
Okay. And are there other VMS deposits in Idaho that are that have been historically mined to a significant extent?
Not to a significant extent, but there are numerous known occurrences, and there are other companies, forgive me, I can't remember off the top of my head, but that are working on VMS style, shall we call it, deposits in Idaho.
I'm just not familiar with Idaho being ripe for VMS.
No, it's not a common type of deposit. And that's possibly why I use the words VMS style as opposed to VMS. I think projects like this and applying geological models, there has to be more extensive exploration before we pigeonhole things too much.
And when are you expecting to get results back from the geophysics and complete the surface sampling?
So I spoke to the team yesterday, and they are halfway through the soil sampling, and they've got the drone and the magnetic equipment up and running. So I would expect them to be done within the next 10 days. The geophysics processing should be relatively quick. And then depending on the laboratory, we're probably looking at a 3 or 4 week turnaround. So mid-September.
What's your gut tell you? Do you think you've got like some small pods of very high grade stuff, or maybe you just have no idea yet? What's under the surface there?
Yeah, I mean the exploration is so early right now that I really think that what we have right now is at least four high grade near surface pods. I would be very surprised if there isn't extensions and halos or even some of these joining up as we move the program forward.
And do you have any feel for the size of any other deposits any VMS style deposits, within the region, that are related?
I actually don't think so. I think we're looking at something quite unique here, within our licenses.
And then switching over to Lovelock and Treasure Box. I know you guys have done the mapping, what you could, and you got underground and you mapped, and maybe you want to flip back to that slide that you guys were using.
Yep, absolutely.
And maybe you can go into some greater detail about what the concept is and what you're trying to test.
Yeah, absolutely. So we completed the UAV magnetics, and we had that 3D inversion with high chargeability and low resistivity anomalies mapped out. And these would typically correlate with the type of sulfide mineralization that we're looking for. And what we did, combining ground IP and the airborne mag, was sort of build a 3D, I guess a 3D picture, but interpretation of what we might expect on the extensions of the Lovelock mine property itself. And this is what we've generated our drill targets from, and this is what we will be targeting. A good majority of the holes will be targeting these geophysical anomalies, and a few of the holes will be targeting the prior workings, which we know have high grade mineralization from historic records.
Now the figure on the right, the bottom right.
Yeah.
The green are targets based on the geophysics, and are the red the same, or are those what's the red or the orange?
Yeah, so the green is chargeability and the red is resistivity.
Got it. And is that can you see there where the old workings are? Is that on the diagram?
Sorry, just flicked over there. No, they're actually further to the south.
Okay. So you're working on virgin ground here.
Yep, absolutely.
That's the geophysics.
Yep, absolutely. So this is looking for an extension on the workings. We want to do some drilling confirming the mineralization at the workings. We've seen the mineralization underground. We know it's there. We just want to target it in the third dimension and then test the extensions that have been shown up with this geophysics.
What is your what's your model that you're working off of here, as far as what?
Yeah, so we're going with an IOCG. It's I mentioned before in previous presentations about IOCGs. It's a bit of a weak geological model, and people tend to use it when there is iron oxide, copper, and gold, and it does fit the area. We believe that the Lovelock portion of the range here is a later exhalative event, just at the end of when everything was going off, and Treasure Box is more of a true IOCG. But I wouldn't rule out an epithermal origin, typical of the more Carlin type deposits that the region's known for. We have the curiosity that we have nickel, copper, and cobalt within the system, whereas most of these Carlin type deposits are filled with gold, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my verdict is a little bit out there. I like to test things a bit more thoroughly before naming deposit types.
I guess more conceptually, is the thought process, well, maybe there's a couple of 100,000 tons of very high grade.
Yeah.
That's the concept.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe we're looking at a repeating system, or there's considerable sort of, when you look at the project underground, there's considerable sort of structural information that points to a sort of structural control, and we'd expect probably to see some pinching and swelling of these systems. There is some information that diuretic dikes have brought in some of the mineralization, so there may be a relationship with pipes and dikes coming into the tertiary volcanics. And I really think that once we've got these next drill holes in the ground, we'll be able to pull up a bigger picture and sort of pull back, re-strategize, and sort of say, well, look, this is what we've had before, this is what we've got now, this is what we need to do to pull everything together in order to take this project forward.
And what's this? Assuming that you guys can come to an agreement and sign a contract with the driller, what's the timing of getting the drill, metal into the ground?
Well, as I mentioned, it's been very, very difficult to get that sorted. Drill contractors all over North America right now are overutilized, so to speak. We are still extremely positive that before the fall we'll get rigs on the ground. As I mentioned, it's a 2,100 meter program. It won't take that long. Once we do get the rigs in, the logistics from the team in Nevada are all in place, in terms of camp arrangements and personnel. So as soon as we can get this drill contract signed, and as I mentioned during the presentation, we are in the final talks. Just got to get pen to paper and organize dates. We're ready to move.
I haven't been to this site exactly, but I've been nearby, and my recollection is, it can get, it's not, you can't drill there all year. It gets a fair amount of snow.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. From about December through to March, April, it becomes very difficult. That's why I sort of say that we're really pushing this contractor to get us in before the fall, so that we can be all finished up by December before the weather gets very bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not as bad as some parts of Nevada, but it's it's definitely seasonal.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I 100% agree with you.
Okay, good. Great, those are all my questions. Maybe I'll pass it off to Erdy here if he's got a couple of questions, and then pass it back to Campbell for more questions from the audience.
Okay.
Thank you, Mitch and Tim. For the project in Idaho, the Monument project, to follow up the drone magnetics and soil sampling, when do you think you guys can follow up with drilling, and how long it take to get a drilling permit there?
So that's a very good question. I would hope to have all the results back by early to mid-September. That our partners there, obviously it helps that they have a 50% interest. They work very quick. They have their own personnel, being a geological consultancy. They have a good amount of bodies that they can call on. They also are very well connected in Idaho. So I think to be able to get permits in, I think the lead time is about 45 days. So if we get promising results, which we're expecting, and that we have a high enough confidence in them, I could see that project being drilled before the year end too.
You have the permits on hand for drilling, or?
No, we don't have the permits on hand yet, but due to our partners, connections in Idaho, they're very well versed with the permitting process, and it should take up to about 45 days to have those permits approved.
Mm-hmm. Can you please go over the partnership with the Metal Bank for the Australian asset again? Are they gonna spend 6 months to finish all the due diligence and earn the 80%?
Mitch, you want to take that one?
Mitch, your audio.
There we
There
go.
we go.
Yeah, so yeah, there's a 6-month exclusive option that they've been awarded with that they are going to conduct exploration on the project. As Tim kind of went into, they're focusing on the northern zone, and if they can show that there's some continuity to the resource that we have in that central area, they would move forward with a next phase program.
Okay, thank you.
The cost, I think they were going to do a minimum of $250,000 of exploration. Most of that is with RC drilling at that northern area, and then there's just below the central zone, there's a target area that they've identified as well.
Thank you, Mitch. Campbell?
Sure. How much cash on hand?
About just under 750 cash on hand at the moment.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What is the G&A and corporate burn rate?
It's very small at the moment. Obviously, a lot of that's earmarked for exploration, but we're looking at about 15 to 20,000 on a normal course month, and that includes some of the requirements for spend on properties.
What are your potential financing plans and timing of that, as much as you can talk in the most general fashion?
Yeah, and I think there are initiatives that we want to do, and as Tim mentioned, I think if we see some positive results come from the exploration that's planned or is to be planned, there will be a need to do further financings. But I think we want to see how these results turn, and there's a few things in discussion right now that we'd like to make announced before doing any financing.
If you can just, as we wrap up, kind of lead us with some catalysts to expect or general milestones in the next, say, 6, 12, 18 months.
Sure. Yeah. Again, I think there's, we've been very, very active. We look forward to continue to being active over the next several months and year ahead. Again, I think a lot of the immediate catalysts are on the work programs that are underway right now. And again, catalysts are these were the results coming out, as well as new partnerships that we're in discussions with, and further opportunities to really build that exposure to the battery metal supply chain.
All right. Thank you. Want to thank everyone for tuning in, for your great questions, and you'll want to get access to the replay. Go to amvestcapital.com/replays, and on your way out, please share your feedback or reply to the feedback request email. It'll make its way to Mitch and his team very soon. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Mitch, and to close us, and also tell us how we can get in touch with you and where you are on the different social media platforms.
Great. Well, again, thanks very much, everyone. We certainly appreciate you attending this webinar. Campbell and team at Amvest, sincere thanks to you as well for hosting. You can follow us. Again, I really encourage everyone to subscribe to our e-newsletter. You can do that on through our website, globalenergymetals.com, and we're also on Twitter at Energy Metals. Tim is Timothy Strong 88 on Twitter, and I'm Mitch Smith VANC on Twitter. So follow us. We're very active, and we look forward to sharing updates as soon as available.
And same for Amvest. You can find Amvest Capital on all those places too. So with that, thank you, everyone, and have a great day and rest of your summer.
Excellent. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.